a 9-year-old child was killed in a drive-by shooting while he was asleep. This is a extremely tragic story, one that is not uncommon, to be honest with you. It actually, a similar kind of story happened a few months ago where a 7-year-old girl was shot by a stray bullet outside of a McDonald's as well. These things happen all the time, especially in these low-income black neighborhoods. But let's go on with the story about what really took place here. So, once again, this is a 9-year-old boy. He's found dead in his bed by his mother this weekend after he was struck by a stray bullet from a drive-by shooting, and this took place in Albany, Georgia. So, the boy's name was Nigel Brown, 9 years old again, was found in the bed unresponsive by his mother after a car drove by and opened fire on his home. Nigel was pronounced dead at the scene. There were several others inside the house at the time of the shooting as well. So, apparently he was shot in the head while sleeping, like I said, by a stray bullet. And like I said, this is extremely tragic. But what's even more tragic is BLM doesn't care. They haven't said a word about this. You're not going to see anybody on the left that supports BLM say anything about this, by the way, either. The people that have BLM in their profile photos, that have the black fist, they won't talk about this story because they don't care about this boy. They really don't. Because unless it's something that's going to push the narrative to help them defund the police, you're never going to see them cover it. You won't hear CNN cover it. You won't hear anybody talk about that. And as I mentioned before with kind of similar cases, where is this boy's gold casket? Where is the mural that's being put up? Where is the statue? Because he didn't commit any crimes. He wasn't high on drugs enough to kill himself at the time. He wasn't resisting arrest. None of that took place. But yet this is the community that they live in. And I've heard stories years ago about, parents that lived, or these black parents that lived in low-income neighborhoods where they would have to literally put their children into the bathtub at night because of drive-by bullets. And they didn't want any of that to, just a stray bullet to catch them or their children or anything else. It's extremely scary in these places. And yet you have Democrats that are still pushing defund the police. How on earth can you possibly still support defund the police? And by the way, these people in these neighborhoods don't support defund the police either. But Democrats think that they know what's best for this community. I'd love to hear their side of the story on that. Talk to that mother and tell her you believe in defunding the police. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. Black on black crime will always go completely ignored by the left, by the mainstream media, by BLM, because it doesn't fit the agenda. Which tells me that they don't care about black lives because the biggest threat to a black person is another black person. That's always the way that it's been. The numbers don't lie. So you can come up with, you can spin the story however you want to, but the numbers simply do not lie about that. The fact is that if the police were killing black people at the rate that they were killing themselves, this entire country would be on fire right now with the outrage. But that's not what's happening. The fact is that it's just simply a matter of the news and everyone else not covering this, on purpose not covering this, by the way. I'm sure there's some of them are aware of it and just were told not to cover it because they don't want to put a dent in their narrative. They want it to be a spotless narrative that they keep very much controlled. And by the way, where's BLM in general? I mean, like I've kind of mentioned this before, but I mean, there has to be some types of shootings going on, I assume. Where is BLM at this point? Well, as I predicted before, I guarantee you they're going to be back on in probably 2022, right? Or at the end of this year to next year during the midterms. Because all of a sudden we're going to hear all about all of these different police shootings that come out of nowhere. If what I'm right, I believe I'm right about this, but if what I'm saying is correct at that time, then you'll know that this is all mainstream media driven. I mean, I know that it already is, but it's just further proof that it is. They can pull these things out of the mainstream media and you'll know nothing about them. Then they'll put them back in and then all of a sudden that's all the nation's talking about. They are playing with us by choosing which stories that they want to cover, that they want to be outraged about, telling people what they should be outraged about, and ignoring the things that are actually going on consistently. If it isn't in an election year, they could care less about that. And that's the problem. That's a big issue for them ultimately. So the thing too is that we'll see. We'll wait till next year. We'll see what happens. But I'm assuring you that that's basically what's going to happen. You just watched a clip from The William Hall Show. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe.